Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because we're going to be talking about the ModRetro M64. That is because it now has a shipping date window, as well as a ton of new details about overclocking the controller, all the features the hardware is going to ship with, and some of the new games are actually working on in development, as well as actually reproducing some cartridges. So if you've been wondering what happened to the ModRetro M64, and I've been seeing a lot of comments asking exactly that, that is what we're going to be talking about today, because an email went out to press as well as to general users talking about what the details are going to be and when it was going to come out. And honestly, from the announcement to the point in time this email came out, it has been a little bit of a lengthy kind of development process. And if you are not aware, this core is based upon FPGA Zoom's process core on the Mr. FPGA, and that definitely is a core that we've been using for a very long time and does an excellent job of just basically becoming a Nintendo 64 in FPGA. And that early bird pricing is apparently still available, so if it's something you're interested in, definitely kind of jump on that before that window goes away. And we have seen this hardware on exhibition, some of the bare PCBs as well, but honestly after that, ModRetro really didn't show a lot. They have shown off some units to different YouTube channels that kind of just show the overall case and what it does, but I haven't really done a very big deep dive. And if you're wondering, no, I am not receiving a review unit. I haven't heard anything from the company. Some of those things, if they'd offered, I would have reviewed it early, like they're talking about in the email, but I guess I'm just going to have to go retail like everybody else on this one. But before we start, and you can absolutely talk about this in the comments, yes, I completely understand who owns ModRetro, but the reality situation is Robert, or FPGA Zoom's boss, is the core developer on this one, and he has given so much to the Mr. FPGA and open source FPGA community, and it's one of those things, you can like something, you can hate something, but that does not mean I'm not going to deliver the news to you. I do not like nor I approve of the idea that someone tells you that you can't talk about something just because they don't like it. I leave it up to you to decide what it is you want to support or not support, and if you're that upset with it, don't forget FPGA Zoom's boss also made the PlayStation 1 core and the Game Boy Advance core, so you might not want to play those either if you don't really like this overall development here. Because I am not here to tell you what to think, I'm just here to give you the information and tell you that you should think and make your own decisions, and anyone that tells you that you have to think a certain way, I would probably just disregard that out of hand. But moving over to the detail side of thing, and trust me, I don't like having to intro these videos that way, but if I don't, people get really upset in the comments. You'll see that the email did go out and maybe you did receive it, and they're talking about the fact that this is going to be shipping at the end of July from warehouses in Southern California, which is actually a nice detail. You know this thing isn't going to have to go through any importation process. It has been manufactured and imported at least into the US and probably every other region, so that you actually have same country shipping, and that makes a big deal when it comes to actually moving these things around. And I can't wait personally to test this out because FPGA Zoom's boss's work has been so incredible, and he always said when there was a new FPGA platform available that had more horsepower than Mr. FPGA, he wanted to try to make more enhancements and clean up a couple bits of the code, and that's exactly what you're going to be seeing with the ModRetro M64 and its FPGA chip. And that definitely is exciting because as a developer, he has given us so many fun things to play around with, and I can't wait to see how that kind of expands upon the overall Mr. Core. And they did go through an entire list of all of the different features that are going to be available at shipping, and that definitely is fun to see exactly what you're going to be getting in the box. But you'll see here, one thing they say is wireless over-the-air updates available out of the box, and that definitely 100% is a little bit of a dig at the other FPGA company making N64s. That is because to date, Analogue 3D still requires you to drop a new firmware onto your SD card, at least at the time of this recording. I'm sure it will change eventually, and you can't actually update this thing over the air, which honestly to me isn't that big of a deal, but I deal in SD cards and other camera media all the time. If people don't really have a card reader, they do have to go out and buy one, so I can see where that would be definitely a big bonus benefit. And there's going to be a bunch of other features. We're going to have to wait and see how some of them work even now because they're based on Mr. FPGA. I would presume they would work perfectly fine. You're going to see here it says that the PSRAM architecture allows M64 to unlock significantly higher overclocking. What that is reading is that it's going to overclock faster than Mr. FPGA and probably faster than Analogue 3D as well. Now again, there is some reading between the lines on these press releases, and of course when the M64 is out, I will put it side by side with Mr. FPGA and Analogue 3D on all the games that benefit from the overclocking to see if we can actually crown an FPGA frame rate champion. But I do have a couple thoughts on this. I'm really curious to see how many people out there don't already have some form of N64 in FPGA, because Analogue 3D is out. It has been selling, and every single special edition they do always sells out, although I'm assuming some of those consoles are going to the collector's market where they keep them sealed for resale later. But I really do wonder, and I hope it is a thing where they can sell units, if there is still a larger demand for something like an N64 FPGA console. And granted, Analogue 3D does go out of stock a lot, so I'm sure that'll give ModRetro a big benefit because they're not kind of using that FOMO business model. But there definitely is a saturation point where N64 FPGA consoles will be sold to basically everyone who wants them, so hopefully there is still a decent market out there. Obviously, I'm going to pick it up for all of the testing and videos that you guys asked me for and want to see, but if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't buy another way to play N64 and FPGA. But if you don't have an N64 FPGA console that plays cartridges, this definitely feels like it's going to be a good option. If you're on the fence as to which one to buy, I would probably wait until those reviews go out from channels you trust, whether it's me or anybody else. Now moving back over to the details here, you're going to see that the FPGA core will be open sourced upon launch. That is something that ModRetro and FPGA Zoomspas promised, and that's something that apparently is being 100% delivered on. And that to me is absolutely important because this core is derived from the Mr. FPGA core, which is open source and can be ported over to any piece of hardware. So when that was promised, an open ecosystem, that's exactly what it is you want to see. Now again, having the source code published means people can play around with it, they can do whatever they want. And I know in the past ModRetro did state that they will open up the FPGA on the actual M64 for other cores as well, and we don't have any details on that right now. We'll have to wait and see how that goes after launch. Now obviously, the point of the launch is to get the best N64 console possibly ever to be made out there for people to play around with. And that's definitely going to be an upside compared to Analogue 3D. Something that we can say without actually testing the hardware is open source FPGA cores are always going to be a benefit for the community, and we know Analogue is never going to open source their hardware or their core. And again, ModRetro says that they're going to be making some games on this. Well, when I say making, publishing. So that's going to be fun. We're going to live in a future where you're actually going to get new games on N64 from developers, and that's going to be a very fun time, and honestly maybe even cooler than another FPGA console for N64, because again, we have multiple ways to play the N64 with FPGA code underlying it, but having a publisher out there making new games for N64, boxing them up and selling them, that's going to be a lot of fun. Now additionally, they also talked about the controller, saying that it weighs a little bit more than an Xbox Pro controller, and it has been kind of weighted to give you a really good hand feel. I think that's going to be a positive thing, because I will say the N64 controller definitely light in my opinion, and they have gone with the full trident design. I'll have to wait and see how that feels, because for me personally, I've always felt that this is a hand cramper. Now I know I might be in the minority, but I always see people agree with me, and some people say they have no issues. And the reality is the ergonomics of a product and overall human physiology, you're always going to have different things going on with different people. So I'm not saying the N64 controller is a bad design. I'm just saying for some people it ends up cramping their hand, for others it doesn't. So it'll be interesting to test the controller when that actually comes out. It's going to be wireless, you're going to be able to plug it in, it's going to be compatible with old N64 consoles, so even if you don't pick up an actual ModRetro M64, maybe that controller might be of some interest. And you'll see here that even talk about the fact that anything is perfect in life, and that they're not going to be really using the no emulation moniker, because FPGA is as good as its code. And they talk about Donkey Kong missing the vine swing on the N64 intro on Mr. FPGA without the proper RAM timings. Now I'm sure that will definitely be buttoned up, but otherwise I do appreciate the marketing here that basically says, keep your expectations in check. We're not trying to say that this is the second coming of the N64. It went into a cave and came out alive 3 days later. It's going to be a very good FPGA console, and it'll definitely get updates as time goes on, and that really is nice to see that support. And as far as the new games are concerned, you'll see Xenocrisis here plugged into an M64, so hopefully that's one that we'll see published by them as well, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see again. But honestly, N64 is just in a new golden era. You have so many new games. You have the new Pirate game engine. You have a ton of fan ROM hacks. You have 1, not 2, not 3 different FPGA implementations of the N64 on the market. You really have your choices what it is you want to go out there and play. And that definitely is nice, because honestly, an N64 in 4K with overclocking really makes the console feel like you remember it used to feel back in the day, because nostalgia is a powerful thing, and and you think these games are incredible, then you plug a real N64 hardware into your TV and you realize some of these games absolutely run like slideshows and your memories of them are way better than the reality. But FPGA makes those memories basically the new reality, and we all win when that happens. So hopefully I'll be able to review this thing when it comes out. I definitely will pick up a copy with my own money. That way I can show you the hardware. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. But otherwise, we're done. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.